Okay, welcome back. Today I wanted to show you a secondary way to finish your North Star. So the first way I showed you how to finish it would be just coloring it in, okay, using whatever types of material, crayons, markers, whatever you have. You could also do this in watercolor paints if you had that kind of material available. But I'm going to show you how to do it with construction paper. So for this part of the lesson, you will need a 12 by 12 inch piece of construction paper. That's because that's what size our square is, that we North Star square. We need some sort of glue. For this, we're going to use glue stick, and then we'll need scissors. In the first video, I showed you how to fold your square into 16 small squares. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did before. So this we're going to take and fold in half. Okay. Want to make sure those edges line up. I want to make sure I'm holding this very well together. Remember making these edges really crisp by making those folds. Then we're going to fold it in half again. This paper is much easier because it's a little bit thinner, but most construction paper is pretty thick. So, but you still should have no problem with getting it to be folded. Okay. So now we're going to fold it in half the opposite way. Okay. Fold it that way. And then finally, we're going to fold it in half one more time. Once we finish doing that, we know that it will be a square. So if you folded it into a small 3-inch by 3-inch square, then you have folded it correctly. And I'm just going to take my pencil to kind of crisp those folds. Now the next thing I'm going to do is open it back up, and hopefully you can see all of those squares that you've done. This is where the scissors come in. So we are going to cut all of these into 16 small squares. So starting off, we will carefully cut on the fold, trying to make sure that we stay on that fold. We'll keep doing the same thing. I think I got a little off track there, but it will be okay. It will be okay. All right, so now we have them in strips of 4, and then we're just going to go back and cut on that line. And now we will have 3-inch by 3-inch squares. I really like this color blue. It's very pretty. It makes me think of the sky. And we can just stack them on. This is going to be the result of what we do, but we'll have more of those. All right, as you can see now, I have cut all of my squares out. Okay. And now it is time to take out my folded white paper. You can see that these can fit right in there. But this is not how we're going to do the pattern for the North Star. So it's easier if we're looking at the pattern for the North Star. I want to stretch my paper out. Now, you'll notice that here there's going to be no square, but here our square is cut in half, okay? So this is how we're going to make our square into a triangle. So we'll take our square and we will fold it so that this corner touches this corner very carefully like this. See how I folded that? And when I open it back up, I'm going to take my handy dandy scissors and cut on that fold. And now I have two triangles. And that's sort of how I'm going to lay them on my paper. Okay. So I will actually need to do that 1, 2, 3 more times. So I'm going to take my square, take the two corners, opposite corners, fold them like this. Similar to what you might do if you were doing origami. I'm going to go ahead and fold. That's 2. This is the third one. And then one more. I like the way that it looks finished with color, but I think I'm really going to like the way it looks finished when it's with construction paper. Okay. So we're going to take this open, and then we're going to cut it in half. One. Two. And then 3. All right. So you'll see that we take this and we'll cover it up like that. And like that. Flip it around. It's kind of like a puzzle, actually. It's pretty cool. Now this isn't going to be where I glue it. This is just to show you the layout of it. So then I'm going to transfer these over to here. Okay. And this is where we open up our glue. We're going to put the glue on here and lay it like that. Looks really good against the white paper. Right now we don't have to make it perfect. If we need to add more glue, we can do that later, but we just want to secure it in the right location. Once you finish cutting those squares into triangles, you really can see how it's starting to look like a star. Nice and secure. So now you can see that I've glued down all of the exterior triangles. So remember, we're working to make it look like the North Star pattern. But you'll see that you'll have quite a bit of squares left over. Now, in my classroom, what I'm going to do is encourage my students to trade squares with someone else at their table that maybe has a contrasting color, so that we can then fill the inside square in with another color. Okay. Now, the cool thing about this is only going to need, you'll only need 4 squares, 3 by 3 inch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll place my extras over here because I might want to make another one later. And I will just take the glue. Remember, we always put the lid back on our glue so that it doesn't dry out. I'm just going to stick that down. Okay. And you can kind of position them so that they look nice and neat. And then there you see. Now it's up to you whether you want to finish it with paper or coloring it in. It just depends on what materials you have. But this is the Northern Star.